Good morning, guys. I usually don't record prior to getting my workout in, but I thought this article warranted sharing as I had a few people sending it to me wanting to know my thoughts. It's related to Etsy warning sellers of a delay in processing payments due to Silicon Valley Bank collapse. So we're going to look into this in this video. Let's get to it. So the Silicon Valley Bank was, I think, the 16th largest bank in the US. And they're saying it's a bank collapse. In that regard, I don't know that it's truly a complete collapse because to my understanding, they're going to still like auction off the assets that they have to try to make investors whole. I don't think everybody will be made whole. There's a lot of, information going around and like everybody pretends to be an expert when this stuff goes down. But I wanted to mention that there's one YouTuber I really like who did a good video on this. Let's just watch very shortly a couple clips explaining what happened and then what will likely happen as a result really quickly. And then we'll read this article.
Hit lately from the rates going up. Venture fund.
Sorry, I watch at 2x speed. I should probably reduce that maybe to 1.25. All right. And I'll turn the volume up.
Have been drying up. It says many startups have been forced to draw down their deposits at banks, specifically held by Silicon Valley Bank.
And they have a lot of startups. I forget the number that I saw, but it was like some absurd number of tech startups had exposure to that bank that were using them for banking.
Silicon Valley Bank is now forced to say, look, we have withdrawals going out. We don't have enough cash to meet it, so we have to sell our assets. But we bought these assets here, now they're only worth here. And so we have to sell more assets in order to meet the withdrawal demand. Somebody somewhere catches wind of this. That means they take out all of their cash. Then they call up their buddies and say, you go take out all of your cash. This makes the problem spiral, and the bank has to then go sell more and more and more of its assets to the point where it doesn't have enough assets left over to meet all of the redemption requests.
And when he says somebody somewhere, just so you guys know, hopefully this isn't news to anybody watching. I hope my channel is like a little bit beyond the mainstream narrative aspects of things. Somebody somewhere means high ups at Silicon Valley Bank that know they could be in trouble, call their friends. I'm pretty sure he lists a couple of friends, and you'll know what I mean. They're the big players in this space, and they're the first to the door. It's not coincidence that they're constantly the first to the door, though. Again, we look at these people, oh my God, the genius investor. Typically, there's handshakes behind the scenes in rooms where, you know what I mean, there's no technology devices, no recording devices allowed, etc.
Which is exactly what happened here. A number of prominent venture capitalists, including Peter Thiel and many others, were instructing their portfolio businesses to pull their cash from the bank. And
now, how did they know?
Within just 48 hours, the second biggest bank collapse in US history took place. And anybody who had an account with Silicon Valley Bank, up to $250,000 is...
So like Etsy, for instance, in this case. Hopefully I'm not going on too long about like the non-Etsy aspect. This stuff's important, guys. And I'll also obviously link to this video in the description.
Guaranteed by the FDIC. The FDIC does this by, number one, creating a new bank, this time the Deposit Insurance National Bank of Santa Clara. And by Monday, March 13th, people will have access to up to $250,000. If you have an account there and you have more than $250K, then as the assets of the bank are sold off, then they will meet the redemption requests, meet those deposits up to anything they can.
All right, so that's what I wanted to share, guys. I mean, obviously this video goes on longer. By the way, fun fact about the FDIC is that they insure, last I checked, I did a video on this on my finance channel. I can link to that in the description too, but they insure over $10 trillion of assets with like 100 and something. I'm pretty sure the number was $125 billion, or not deposit. They insure over 10 trillion in deposits with about 125 billion worth of assets. So do the math real quick on how that works. I'll give you a hint. It doesn't. Yeah, the financial system, guys, like just do a little research on how fiat currencies end. They predictably, cyclically have a time limit on them, and we have surpassed it actually. So it's not a coincidence that you're seeing what you're seeing. All right, let's get to this article for the Etsy sellers. Sorry that I took so long there at the beginning. Hopefully you'll forgive me. If not, you can yell at me in the comments. Like I said, I'm still working on my coffee. I need to work out. Then I get my blood flowing and I get back into real video recording form. All right, Etsy's warning sellers that the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank on Friday is causing delays in processing payments, according to an email from the company shared with NBC News. By the way, I checked my Etsy account email. I didn't get that email, or maybe I did and I just like deleted it because you get a lot of emails on Etsy, but I don't recall seeing it. The online do-it-for-yourself goods megashop said it used SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, to facilitate disbursement to some sellers and that it was working with other payment partners to issue deposits. We wanted to let you know that there is a delay with your deposit that was scheduled for today, an email from Etsy said. We know that you count on us to help you run your business, and we understand how important it is for you to receive your funds when you need them. The email continued. Please know that your teams are working hard to resolve this issue and send your funds as quickly as possible. Etsy did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So maybe it's related to the payment frequency. I don't have like the most frequent payments enabled. I think I did like weekly. So maybe I missed that, or maybe even bi-weekly. I don't know. I got to go double check. I have so many things going on that like you would think I would know, but I honestly don't worry as much about that. I just let it go. You know, I assume the money's going to be there when it's owed. Resuming, Etsy claims 7.5 million sellers worldwide. Regulators placed SVB into receivership around noon Friday to end a bank run on the tech lender that had begun Wednesday after it was seeking to raise more than $2 billion. One affected Etsy seller told NBC News that the deposit's delay would have a catastrophic effect on his business. Owen McKinney, who runs Kentucky Country Home laser engraving business, said in an email that he relies on deposits to pay for items like shipping costs and materials. He said he had already reached out to one of his suppliers to delay an order for materials that he needed for next week. At the time, Etsy does not provide a time frame for the funds to be deposited. McKinney said, "While I do have a website, Etsy remains a huge part of my business." And actually, I was talking to a company in this space that can actually like facilitate loans to get business started recently. I may or may not, do a video with them, but if you see one this week, it'd actually be good timing as it relates to this article. The drama with SVB started earlier this week when the bank disclosed that it sold about $21 billion worth of securities and proposed to offer over $1 billion in shares, all to fundraise for general corporate purposes. Guys, watch the video, the full video that I just linked. It explains why they do this. It explains how banks are structured as far as like what deposits are and everything like that, if you have the the curiosity, all right? That move raised eyebrows among investors who pondered why SVB would need to raise so much money abruptly. It also worried depositors, many of whom suddenly worried whether their money was safe and began pulling funds out. And when you even hear money, guys, I'm going to interject real quick. I don't even think of it as money. I just call it number in database, because really what is it these days? What is money? It's number in database in a centrally controlled, closed off, non-public blockchain between banks. To me, real money is something like Bitcoin that's truly one of a kind. Proof of work, network can't be hacked. You know what I mean? I can go on a long rant about Bitcoin. I won't, but just understand that like proof of work, public blockchain can't be hacked. You know what I mean? Can't be hacked is important there though. Proof of work is important. I would recommend going down that rabbit hole if you have any interest, because, and I'm not saying that Bitcoin's the solution for replacing the current financial system. It's probably not. But you can build layers on top of Bitcoin like Lightning Network, potentially maybe to facilitate faster transactions. Just saying, having trust in bankers that we know don't care about us at all whatsoever, and central bankers that are breaking people's backs and keeping us slaves to the system through inflation and the occasional attempt at deflation, which this is what it results in. You know what I mean? There's a good saying that another YouTuber I like says. He says, privatize gains, socialize losses. If they bail out huge banks like this, and by the way, this causes counterparty risk. It's a contagion in the banking system. This could spread easily. You know what I mean? You socialize losses. Oh, the bank got bailed out. My number in database is there. I'm safe. Yeah, but everybody else, like blue collar workers who don't make nearly as much money as people in like the finance industry, what it hits them through higher prices at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, or don't believe me, right? Don't do any research, right? Because if you actually research it, you'll see the truth, and you can just watch the television where they'll lie to you. You know what I mean? But like this stuff, it really strikes a nerve with me, because this is like people's lives. People feel the squeeze. It's a boot on people's necks, enabled by the broken financial system that favors, like I said, privatized gains, socialized losses. It favors the people that get that call from the Silicon Valley Bank insiders when things are starting to hit the fan, who start getting their money out first. You know what I mean? Peter Thiel, Bill Ackman, whoever else he noted. All right, let's go. We're going to wrap this up. Sorry about that. It's early. I need to get my workout in. All right, on Friday, the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation said that it was taking over and closing SVB to protect deposits, naming the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as its receiver. The FDIC has formed a separate entity where all insured SVB deposits up to $250,000 per depositor will be available by Monday morning. The shutdown, and by the way, up to $250,000, right? Like I saw something that said like, I hate like saying it if I don't have it in front of you, but it was something like over 80% of deposits at this bank were over $250,000, right? Because if it's a bunch of companies, it's not like individual accounts that maybe have $250K or less. Anyways, so Up to 250,000 per depositor will be available Monday morning. The shutdown came after a tumultuous morning for SVB, during which trading of its shares was halted after they fell by double digits before markets opened. The downside came on the heels of more than 60% decline on Thursday. The closure marks the biggest bank failure since 2008 financial crisis and the second largest in U.S. history after Washington Mutual collapsed during that industry-wide meltdown, according to the FDIC data. Me and Marielle, we love like studying finance together and just trying to like get smarter about this stuff. There was a really good movie about the 2008 collapse that it was like almost exclusively from the other side's perspective, where all the basic bank leaders, bank CEOs, bank presidents would meet behind the scenes with regulators and try to come up with a solution. And you got to kind of see really how it was all hashed out behind the scenes. And then of course at the end they say, okay, this was essentially what they were going to do to fix the 2008 bailouts. And the banks got extremely greedy and, you know what I mean, like basically reneged on what they, a lot of them, said they would do something, didn't do it, and basically squeezed regulators for as much money as possible. That shouldn't come as any surprise. Again, there's a history of this. You don't need to take me at my word. Just look at their actions and ignore any narrative from the mainstream propaganda that tries to cover for them, because they're all on the same team, guys, and we're not on it. Anyways, that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As far as what we can do as Etsy sellers, if you have any ideas, let me know. What can we do, right? Like this is Etsy. You know what I mean? When they facilitate a transaction, the money goes in and out of the accounts that they were holding with banks like SVB, right? So what can we do there? I don't think we can do anything, right? As long as we're relying on Etsy for processing our payments. Like you could say, oh yeah, start a Shopify store. Of course, then, if you're using Shopify payments or Stripe or whoever it is, like they still have to have accounts with some financial institution that money passes through. So I'm not trying to say I know everything, guys. I definitely don't. But I'm open to ideas. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas. I'll link to everything I referenced in the description of this video. All right, and I might do another video later today. We'll see.